Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Amazons.
Always very exciting for me to be on this set, the Amazons. My name is Silo Bankole, and I'm co-presenting with three people. I always say that everywhere. I'm co-presenting with Omoso. Omoso Bua, and of course a very beautiful lady. She likes to call me delectable, but I think she's delectable. Aisha Falode. And of course, my beautiful, beautiful, smiley, energetic crowd as usual. Thank you for being here. All right, this week, I'm going to kickstart this program with a saying. I'm going to quote a barrister. He says, his name is Barrister Evans Ufeli. He says, adoption is a legal process whereby a person obtains judicial or administrative authorization to take the child of another person as his own, and parental rights and obligations are permanently transferred from the child's natural parents to their adopter. That is a quotation from a barrister, Evans Ufeli, who we shall get to meet later on the show. Now, today on the Amazons, we'll be focusing on adoption and orphanages, giving a child the chance to life. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, I welcome you all to the Amazons. Adoption is not very popular in Africa, my sisters.
It's getting there.
Because of traditional values, superstition. Sometimes it might even be, societal dictates. Yeah, exactly. So why do you think, in your own words, Omasa?
Well, it's gotten better over the years, unlike, back in the days that it was unheard of. It was almost a taboo to say, I adopted a child.
Or I even plan to.
But, because culturally, and, so much pressure is put on. Marriage is meant for you just to have
procreate.
Children. So now you both they talk, say, I don't want to have kids.
Yeah, but I want to be married.
But as an African woman, and, it was almost as if the woman created herself or whatever, that I don't have kids. So your focus was on how to have your own biological kids. But I think with modern times, things have changed, and thank God for that. Because like you said, some otherwise very, very less privileged child would probably still be in an orphanage.
On the streets or So Aisha?
Adoption is to the African society, I won't say it's alien, it's just not popular. Because parents or a woman is supposed to almost immediately after getting married, sometimes even before you get married,
yes,
you have to prove
yourself
that you are fertile, that you can carry a pregnancy and that you can deliver. But I think the society is gradually moving from, ahead of that. These days, people who have children even go as far as to adopt, because there are a lot of kids out there who need love. They need shelter. They need, that family setting.
Exactly.
Otherwise, they would just have no future. They will be on the streets. But our culture is beginning to accept the fact that, if you cannot have it by yourself,
then you can
raise a child as yours. I mean, somebody who raises a child is even much more a parent than somebody who carried that child and not care for it.
I'm just thinking, I think what we Nigerians don't really like is the term adoption. Because since time immemorial, we have always had people, like I'm sure when we were growing up, you had cousins, people from your village who were less privileged, who lived in your houses. Some of them, our parents trained them.
But the difference between that is that their parents didn't totally give them up as not being their children anymore. You are just helping. I lived with so many family members. I can't remember a time that I lived with my parents. But my parents were still, seriously. I lived with my grandmother. My grandmother died. I moved to my sister's place. I was done with my sisters. I moved to my auntie's place. When I left my auntie's place, I came to my brothers in Lagos. Wow. But my parents were in Ibadan. They were still my parents. They didn't give me up for,
I think maybe based on even the quotation I gave, it has to be illegal.
Yeah.
It has to be legal for it to be called an adoption. But we have been practicing some sort of adoption. All right, then we'll take a short break. We've been talking. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we shall be introducing some people that are experts in this adoption business. So don't touch your dial.
When I was in search of the fruit of the womb, I had like 20 calendars all over the house. Calculating my ovulation.
Okay.
I had like 6 thermometers, measuring my temperature. I'm sure my husband felt like a guinea pig.
When a child is talking, you ask the child to shut up. It is child abuse. When primary schools and secondary schools, they ask us not to talk, they write names of noisemakers. They force us to sleep. That is child abuse. Now, when they force us to sleep, today we are grown up. We are grown up men and women. The same people are now asking us to face the government and talk and shout. In our formative years, they shut us down. How can we speak now when
Life's one big hustle. That's why around here, we don't hang around for pocket money or handout fees. Nah, bruv. We hustle and grind. Like Angela. Economics major, but she's a cool makeup artist on the side. Or Steve, third year engineering. Awesome photographer. Even the VC wants him for his shots. How about Tony? He's also a DJ. His hustle is so tight. So how do we hype our hustle? With MTN Caller Fill. It's a simple and unique way of selling what you do whenever anyone calls. So whenever I call Angela or Tony or anyone, their Caller Fill message sells their hustle instantly. Plus, you can make your Caller Fill messages come alive with smileys of your choice. Now, isn't that cool?
Simply text REG to 50016.
MTN. Everywhere you go.
In all cultures, children are seen as special gifts to be treasured from God. All adults look forward to having a child or children of their own. But sometimes providence is not kind enough, and the beautiful gifts of children is not biologically possible. This leads to the phenomenon of adoption and orphanages, where the needful is to legally adopt a child to become your own.
They come for adoption. But I personally, in my own orphanage home, I don't have any power to give child for adoption. So when they come, I refer them to our head office, the Social Development Secretariat.
If you really need one, and then you make sure you meet all the requirements as laid down by the government. Government is also interested in making sure that the babies are adequately and properly looked after. So that is it.
When people have the means to adopt children, they will send them to school. They send them to learn a trade. They will send them to do something that will be meaningful to society and something that will enhance their own growth and welfare.
It may seem easy to walk up to any orphanage home, but there are legal procedures that make it not quite as easy.
Before you can adopt, the law, that is section 23 of the adoption law, says that you must be a couple. You understand? The essence of this is just so that the person who is adopting or the people who are adopting have the means to take care of the child. And adoption itself the purpose is to fill in a gap. You understand? So people who have the means, they're able to adopt children, save society some of the stress.
In Nigeria, the culture of adoption is not gaining roots due to several factors, including the society's view on both the orphans and those who adopt them. The various cultural standards require a couple to have biological children of their own, rather than adopt a child who also suffers the stigma of being born by unknown parents.
There is hope if you give them assistance, if you give them a helping hand. We brought out some children that are married from the home. They finish their university, they get married, they settle their home, they have their children.
You don't have to be barren before you adopt. You don't have to be barren. If God has blessed you, you might want to, okay, how can I give back to society? You can just pick up a child from any of the orphanages, so at least you have saved that child, you have saved the nation.
The erosion of values that has bred so much immorality, coupled with the downward spiral of the living standard graph in developing countries like Nigeria, means that so much children are being born without appropriate care. The danger remains that these children may grow to become additional economic burden, or in the worst case scenarios, security threats, if the culture of adoption and orphanages is not encouraged.
Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, this is the Amazons, and we're talking about adoption in Nigeria and orphanages. All right, then we're going to introduce some guests. I said that before the short break. I'm going to bring in some experts in the adoption business in Nigeria, and they're going to be talking to us. We're bringing in two guests, actually. The first one is an adoption expert. He's also a constitutional lawyer. And it was his quotation I gave at the beginning of the show. His name is Barrister Evans Ufeli. Please put your hands together for him. And to join him, I'd like to invite the founder of Royal Diamond Orphanage, Mr. Favor Oguyemi. Thank you very much. So we have an adoption expert, and we also have a founder of an orphanage. Okay, I'd like to direct my first question to you, Barrister Ufeli. And what is adoption, really?
Well, adoption is a legal process whereby a couple elects to take up a child who is abandoned or whose parents cannot be found or whose parents cannot be located. The process at which the person involved or the couples involved gets the child, take the child into custody and care for the child is what we call adoption.
When you were, I couldn't help but listen to what he was saying. He said a couple. Does that automatically mean that you have to be a couple to adopt a child in Nigeria? Yeah,
by Section 22 of the Adoption Act, Laws of the Federation, 2004, you must be legally married to a person before you can elect to adopt a child. In other words, a single person cannot adopt a child under our law.
That's the Nigerian law.
Why is that, though? Because isn't that sounds a bit, because laws are put in place as, of course, for a certain purpose, to achieve a certain purpose, and it's, to me, that seems a bit discriminatory, and it's like saying single persons don't have that to offer to the child.
You see, the essence of adoption naturally is to fill in a gap. So where the person is single, is not married, We've had cases in the past where people adopt children only to use them for other purposes. It's for the security reasons, for the sake of security. That is why the process is rigorous. Even couples that are not fit to adopt cannot adopt. You cannot come from, let's say, Ogun State to adopt in Lagos State. So there are a lot of security checks around it. You cannot adopt someone and at the end of the day you get married to the person. It's illegal. So those are the checks. If you look at the laws critically, you find out that those parameters are kept to checkmate people, because a lot of people may come out and say they want to adopt, but they have ulterior motives. And you know Nigeria is bedeviled with so many societal ills. And if that is not checked through law, people will adopt children and use them for other purposes, which is not what the law covers.
My question is, you were saying that if you live in Lagos, you can't adopt in Ogun. Are adoption laws in all the states uniform?
No.
So why can't I go and adopt in Ogun if Ogun says I can live outside of the state and adopt?
You cannot go and adopt outside Ogun, because if you are adopting, you have to adopt within the locality where you reside, so that the government or the local authority can vouch for you. If you come from Ogun State, the Lagos State government or the locality in which you want to adopt the child, they cannot vouch for you. You are not known to them. And besides, Nigeria is a federation. You understand? Every state is distinct. It's autonomous. Every state have their own adoption law because of the cultural divergence, because of the diversity in culture and tradition. So in the process of jurisprudence, that is the process of dissecting and enacting laws, so many processes are taken into consideration, one of which is the custom prevalent in that place, the tradition, that the things that are prevalent in that locality is incorporated into the laws. That is why you don't have uniform laws. Even the wills law is not uniform.
Mr. Ogunyemi, I'd like to ask you why you set up an orphanage in the first place.
Thank you very much. What really motivated us, myself and my wife, is the kind of the passion we have for it, and the so-called calling that we have. And then it started from when we were young, and then up to when we started having house fellowship. Then from there, grown to having an orphanage home. So that is it.
Is it a home for the church or for you as a couple?
For us as a couple.
Okay, so now I come back to you again. Before you set up an orphanage, you also have to be a couple. You can't, as an individual, say, okay, I have a calling for this. I have a passion for it. I want to give these children, a chance to life. So therefore, let me set up an orphanage. Can I do that as a single person, man or woman?
You can set up an orphanage as a single person. But the process of setting up an orphanage is you must go through certain process of registration where your antecedent in the past is captured. You have to involve the police force, you have to involve the Ministry of Youth and Social Development must be involved. And while you do all that, you must be someone who have a very good history. Not someone who is dubious, not someone who is an ex-convict, or not someone who have been involved in, we've had cases where people sell children. Yes. And no society can condone that, because it is the purpose of every government that every society must live on the tenet of ethics. And once ethics is jettisoned, such person cannot be allowed to open an orphanage for the purposes of taking children into custody.
Okay. I have a question for Mr. Ogunyemi. How many children do you have in the orphanage right now?
At a new orphanage, we started in 2014, but officially inaugurated March 5th last year. So we're getting to be one next month. You know, we have like about 10, you know, thereabout.
And I asked that question because these economic times, because I know a lot of orphanages, some popular ones have actually had to more or less close down because the standard of care for the children. So who funds you? How do you?
Like I said, it's a family thing, myself and my wife. But over time, we've seen friends that says, "Oh, we like what you're doing." Oh, they're also encouraged, and since then they've been supporting us.
What age range do you have?
We're from babies, like about 2 months to like about 6 years.
Wow.
How do you get these children?
Really, we get children from other 2 ways, from other police or from
I didn't hear that.
Police.
From where?
From police.
Police. Okay,
yeah,
police.
Or from
Okay.
Alausa. That's the Ministry of Youth and Social Development. So that's 2 ways by which you can get children.
Okay, so the process for adoption is, we are told now, is much more difficult. Can you run by us if, say, I wanted to come to your home and adopt? What do I need to do that will qualify me, that would ensure that I can adopt from your orphanage?
Number one, like he rightly said, there are some prerequisites which you must meet. And then the first thing is to approach Minister of Youth and Social Development at
No,
Alausa.
I don't approach you. I go to the
No, it
ministry.
goes, they gives you the approval. Then, in turn, you come to any of the orphanages home and then look for a child, and then you go back to them, oh, I found one in this home. And then the subsequent stages starts from there.
Okay, so they do all the checks and verification of your eligibility to adopt?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Barrister Ofeli, what in your own words can you say can be done to encourage Nigerians to embrace adoption?
Well, Nigeria is a very difficult society. Nigeria is a difficult society because we have so many belief systems that are repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. Some people believe that once you adopt a child, you have acquired witchcraft. Now, some people believe that once the child is not your natural child, then you are in trouble. Neighbors, people around. In fact, the very day you adopt a child, they will call you from your village to come and explain why you have decided to do this. In fact, even in parts of Nigeria, there are children whose parents take on them, beat them, use blade to cut them, that they are witches and wizards.
Yes.
The parents are alive. I'm talking about the parents. They are alive and they are capable of taking care of the child. But because of superstitious belief and this tendency to believe that somebody is trying to harm someone, they will take these children, beat them, and subject them to all kind of hardship. And this is against the laws of the land, because the adoption law only applies to children between the age of 0 and 17.
We are talking about a lot of challenges now, and you're in it. What challenges have you faced? I know you're just a year old, but what challenges have you faced raising these lovely children?
Pretty much, like you said, we're still relatively new, and God has been so good. We've had good kids. And then it boils down to the fact that how do we want to raise these children? So that's the values we want to put in them, and then what we want them to become in the nearest future. And above all, we pray for them. We see them as our kids. If they are our kids, they are our kids. And then we pray for them. And by that, they'll be giving us peace.
Okay. Have you had any adopted yet?
That's what I wanted to
Yes,
ask.
we've had one.
Okay.
You have?
Yes,
That's
we've had
good.
one.
That's good. So, aside from the Ministry of Youth and Social Development that do the verification of parents, do follow-up, do you, as an orphanage, also take interest, to know how these kids are doing after they've been adopted?
And really, I'm not sure we're allowed to follow up. The state government takes over from there. But I think once in a while, like they do call, oh, how are you doing? How are the rest of the kids? How are you? This baby is fine. I mean, that gives us joy. Oh, fine, that the child is okay where he or she is. That's
But you're supposed to... What role does Women's Affairs play, though? Because I know they play a role. Because I know a few commissioners that have had to go to some adoption homes and do this inspection that you talked about, and they were from the Ministry of Women's Affairs.
Yeah, the Ministry of Women's Affairs, they play a role because every child passes through a woman.
Okay.
I've not yet seen a child that came outside. So they have a role because the welfare of the women is their concern. You get it? Even if the women are not alive, they are no longer alive, or they have abandoned the child, it's still their responsibility. So they carry out routine checks also, because the essence of the ministry or the commission is to make sure that the welfare of women is taken care of in our society. Even though I would say that they are not doing much. I would say they are not doing much because the Nigerian society, women and children are the worst hit when it comes to any kind of disaster whatsoever. Yeah. Women and children. And that is why we are saying that the government must invest more in that, and because if you push a woman down, you push society down.
Exactly.
If you push a child down, you push society down. And what we're having in the country today is as a result of the neglect of women and children.
Yes.
As I speak to you now, we have 14 generations of unemployed graduates. As I speak to you now, we have 10 million children out of school in Nigeria. You can go online, you can quote me. Now, this in itself is a looming danger.
Yes.
And that is why, if you go to the north, you find out that the Amajiri schools that were built in the north by the previous administration have all been closed. Yes, they've been closed down to entrench that suppression of women and children. And if society continues that way, in the next 20, 25 years, we're going to have a crop of problem here. This is fact. It's not being religious to say why are you saying we're going to have problem in future? We're going to have problem in future because we are sowing problem today. Yes. If we are not going to take care of women and children, if you look through the history of man, the countries that have developed most, check how they treat women and children.
Yes.
In the United Kingdom, there is a way you don't talk to a woman.
Exactly. Yes.
There is a way you don't talk to a child in the US.
Yes.
In the UK, just a short story. In the UK, a woman traveled from Africa. I don't want to mention the African country, but you will know when I get through. So the United Kingdom the daughter gave birth in the United Kingdom. And she got there, after bathing the baby, she turned the baby upside down, hold the baby's leg, hold this way, hold this way.
The way we normally do it.
Yes, you get it. Now, she was arrested by the government because child abuse.
Yeah.
She got arrested because child abuse. But we see it as normal here.
Yes.
When a child is having problem with the navel, we use stone to press it, put it in the fire and put there. It is child abuse. When a child is talking, you ask the child to shut up. It is child abuse. When primary schools and secondary schools, they ask us not to talk, they write names of noisemakers. They force us to sleep. That is child abuse. Now, when they force us to sleep, today we are grown up. We are grown up men and women. The same people are now asking us to face the government and talk and shout. In our formative years, they shut us down. How can we speak now when What will have been shut down?
Barrister Ofeli, you're very passionate about that. Very important. Very passionate. Yeah, I wanted to ask Mr. Oguyemi first and foremost before we round up, because that man that keeps jumping is jumping today.
Okay,
finally, what advice do you have, sir, to intending adopt, parents that would like to, couples that would like to adopt?
The first thing is that they should have good motive. That's number one. And then also, they should just follow all the laid down prerequisites by the government. Government is so doing all it advice to make sure that childs are being raised properly in every home that they belong to. So to me, I don't see all those requirements as laborious or too tedious for them to meet.
How long did it take? Sorry to How long did the whole process take?
I might not be able to know, but it depends on when the intent made available all the requirements or whatever is being requested to bring on board. So, but I think beyond that, it's pretty simple and it's worth the effort.
How do you encourage, what can we do to encourage those that want to adopt, even though the process is, like you say, cumbersome? If you have good motive and you really desire to have a child, I don't think there's any process that should be too cumbersome. So how do we encourage couples to adopt more, especially those who have the means, those who have the home, those who have the pure desire to nurture a child and make something good out of this child and give this child a future? How do we encourage and not look at adoption as a taboo?
Because we have to round up.
Yeah, what I would say is that parents who want to adopt should go ahead and adopt. You see, the rigorous process in documentation and all that, you can give that to someone, a lawyer or anybody. It does not really take so much to adopt. No, the rigorous aspect of it you can give. Only when your presence is needed, you can now come up and show up and adopt accordingly. Because the orphanages are filled up and they are looking for people who will adopt. And the society will also have a lot of people who are wealthy, who have the means that want to adopt as well. So just take the step, get out there, adopt a child today, and in return, society will be good for it.
Thank you very much. I think our two guests have spoken well. What do you think?
Oh, yeah.
All right, then. So thank you very much, Barrister Ofeli.
Thank you.
Thank you. You said so many key points there. Women, children, very important. You have a very vivid picture. We saw it, and it really works. And then thank you, Mr. Favour Oguyemi, to you and your wife as well, for embarking on this very humane project of looking after children. We're really happy to have you on the Amazons. We'll go on another break, and when we come back, we'll still be talking about adoption on the Amazons.
Most people find it difficult to believe now, because I'm always surrounded by kids. I've never come out publicly like this to say, no, I don't.
So I'm here on trying to change the belief and the mindset. In coaching parlance, we call it reflective repatterning on the concept of adoption. Okay. My view, it's all right to give out love. It's all right to adopt. And at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your choice.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you're just joining us, you're watching the Amazons. And we've been talking about adoption. We had some experts with us who gave us a brief rundown on, the regulations, the process of adopting children. And we also had a founder of an orphanage. Right about now, we want to introduce some other people to to join us in the studio to talk about adoption as well. We have this lovely lady who would like to share a story, on adoption. And she's also a publisher of a magazine. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together, please, and help me welcome Azizat. Azizat, I haven't seen you in years, in Youngs. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Nice to see you again.
The pleasure is all mine. Looking great.
You too. I like your red
all
hair.
in your earthy green.
Yes.
When I saw you, I'm like, okay, we planned this.
Yes. The land is really green. Okay, well, let's call someone else to join us in the person of Bukola Meshida Adefuokwe. Some people will say it's a women's affair.
It is.
Yes, we run the world.
We do. Okay, I don't know how long you've been behind stage, but we've been talking about adoption. What does it mean to you?
Truth is, I came about that word, I didn't come about the word, I came about the practice before I came about that word. To me, I remember when I was a little girl, there was this woman that was like a twin to my mom. They were friends, but they looked alike and all that.
Oh, really?
And she died, and then she had kids. So in my heart, I wish we could afford to take them in to our home and take care of them. So I made a promise to myself that when I grow up, I will take care of as many as I possibly can.
That's a really nice story.
So are you taking care of any now?
As many as possible. Yes. Recently we just we're actually in the process, but we just welcomed twins into our home.
When she said our home, goes back to what the lawyer had said, that you have to be a couple legally married to be able to adopt. Okay, what to you? What is adoption? How did adoption come into your own dictionary?
Okay, it's taking in children that are not yours, biologically, and caring and giving love to a child that would otherwise have been on the street, otherwise have been exposed to danger, and you are the one, giving succor to such a child. So in my view, I've come about, I've come about women who have the idea that it's my child or nothing. Women who have reproductive challenge and they're still adamant in that it has to be my child. So if we find women who stage manage pregnancies, and then at the end of the day, they are caught for criminal offenses when they could otherwise have adopted. So I'm here on trying to change the belief and the mindset. In coaching parlance, we call it reflective repatterning on the concept of adoption. Okay. My view, it's all right to give out love. It's all right to adopt. And at the end of the day, it's your life. It's your choice.
Oh, thank you. But hold on, can I just... Okay. But don't you think it's going to be an uphill battle? Because this staged pregnancy, it's very rampant in, especially down certain parts, south, down the east and all that, So don't you think it's going to be an uphill battle? Because like you said, there's just a certain thing, and women, maybe because of the pressure from society and peers, they want to be seen with that bump.
Yeah.
So don't you think, how do you go about it?
One, the issue is to enlighten women, particularly because from my own experience, I had to wait for 2 years before I started having children. And in those 2 years, those were the longest 2 years of my life. I went to churches, I went to places and places
Fruit of the womb.
for fruit. It's in search of the fruit of the womb. For 2 years.
This is my 14th year.
So, the last place I went, it was a church. The prophet came in and flogged us like school children. We queued up.
But we're laughing about
We're laughing about it now.
No, it's
We queued up and we were flogged like school children. And all the prophet kept saying was obedience, obedience, and he kept flogging us. That was the last day I went there. And I was like, and I was vexed from within me. That is it. Now, if you don't get to that level, something might not just happen. When I was in search of the fruit of the womb, I had like 20 calendars all over the house. Calculating my ovulation.
Okay.
I had like 6 thermometers, measuring my temperature. I'm sure my husband felt like a guinea pig.
Yes,
because when I got the right temperature, I would sit down to him. So he started feeling like a laboratory guinea pig. So making love wasn't just something we did because we wanted to. To me, it was for a purpose. So women, we need to get our minds reorganized.
Azizat, you have a set of children that you've adopted. Do you have kids of your own?
No. But most people find it difficult to, probably will find it difficult to believe now because I'm always surrounded by kids. I've never come out publicly like this to say, no, I don't. Because we have an 18-year-old in our house now that, has been adopted. We've had people, over the years, we take care of them. We get to a certain stage, they move on and all that. So I hardly feel like I do not have that. Even though this is the smallest that we've had, there are 3 months, But just to, underscore what she said, you look at the world, you see so many kids suffering. And then you look at the other side, you see so many women crying. And then I believe in life, in everything else in life, that God will put this here and this here, and then the two of you should find yourself, and then the world is full. So that's just the way it is.
Azizat is looking at adoption as creating that bridge.
Yeah.
Between,
building
the bridge. Yes.
But there's a topic. The reason why I am here today is because there's another thing.
Okay.
Right now, presently in Lagos State, there is an embargo on, legal adoption. I said because of child trafficking and all that. And when I found out about that, I was like, is this real? She's trying to get people to adopt. Yeah. And then when they eventually come to that point where they are making up their minds that they want to adopt, and then they meet this bridge, there are all sorts of illegal adoptions everywhere.
The thing is, you see, sometimes you wonder why certain laws are made. I mean, if there is a proliferation of trafficking of children as a result of adoption, the government holds the responsibility. There's an agency in charge of adoption. There's an agency in charge of verification and the authenticity of those who want to adopt and the genuineness and the love and the home they want to create for these children. Those are the ones who should get up from their butts and work, not prevent those who genuinely want to adopt, those whom God wants to use to meet the purpose, and be a blessing to one another. I think they have to have a rethink about this. Yes. We didn't know that. If we knew, we would have asked a lawyer who was here earlier why there's an embargo on adoption in Lagos.
So now I wanted we were discussing and said it would be a good idea now. I would love to adopt, but I'm single. So Is that fair? Because I also know a lot of couples that have abused their kids.
For instance, I remember one of the icons of adoption worldwide is Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
And she adopted, the first child was adopted before she was single.
Before she got married
to Brad Pitt. I don't think, but you know, when that's why the word adoption, you know, does not have a strong meaning to me. Because you know why? For instance, there's a brother and a sister, and then the sister dies, and then the brother has a home, and then welcomes probably the sister died while giving birth, and then welcomes the child of the sister into it.
Oh no, we have all that. We have sisters.
There are all sorts of things. So I sometimes try to, when you look at it that way, sometimes I try to just imagine all sorts of scenarios, you know, because if you use the word adoption, then most of the adoptions we have are not
legal. You know, the babies in your house right now, the 3-month-old babies, were they legally adopted?
We are in the process.
Okay.
But how come they're in your house already?
They are in my house already because they are in my house because they need the care. Because I was told that if they do not land in my house, they will land on the streets.
Can you? Do you understand?
Where did they come from? The police?
No, they didn't come with the police. The mother said, look, if I do not ask, if she doesn't find somebody to take care of this child, so that's why we're in court. If she doesn't find somebody to take care of this child, she's going to, because there's nothing she can't do with them.
Okay. Okay, so that brings me to the next question. If a parent or a couple, is it possible for one of the parents to decide on his or her own to give out the child?
It's not, except she doesn't know who the father is.
Yes. Okay, so how do you prove that? If the law says you must be a couple, you see the caveat.
That's the reason why I came here, because there are all sorts of things that are going to be depriving women who wants to care, and going to be depriving the children who wants to have love. That we're in court right now, because we need to get in court with the government.
No, it's with the government.
Because if we have to get this right. We have to get this right.
Okay, the government is acting on behalf of who? On behalf of itself?
Yes. The state owes it as probably a responsibility to take care of
the children.
Everybody. So there is this structure like, okay, if this does not belong to anyone, it belongs to us.
They are wards of the state.
Yes.
So you want to say something?
Yes, I do want to say something. You see, all of these names, adoption, fostering, and all of that. Now, has anybody traveled to Kano Street at Ebute Meta? We see 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, half naked, walking about. Nobody has time for them. If someone now decides to care for these children, we begin to have names. Adoption, it is illegal. But please, who is caring for those children on the streets now? Nobody. The moment you stretch out an arm of love or something, you begin to hear the names. We begin to get legalistic.
So people are scared. I've heard all sorts of things during this process. We are, how are you sure of this? How are you for? So because I am not sure, I will leave those children to
3 months old.
To whatever.
We have found out that there's this rigorous process of adoption, but in the interim, these are 2 stories of people that grabbed the bull by the horn, knew they had love to share, went for it and have done it, and just success stories everywhere. So what are you waiting for out there? If you are in a position where you can touch someone's life, where you can change someone's life, no need to wait. You can grab that opportunity right away, right now, and start doing something about it. In conclusion, children, we all know, are a gift from God. And we have seen so many cases, like she rightly said, you understand, when people have taken people's children in, and as a result, well, we don't know if it's as a result of it or not, but we have seen them being blessed eventually afterwards. So who knows, that might be the story of your own life if you do toe that line. All right? Children in the orphanages are begging. They are begging for love, asking for love. If you do think and you do know within you that you have that love, go out there and get a child. Like they rightly said, you don't have to bring, some people say, I don't have a home. I'm not married. You can foster a child that lives in an orphanage. And I think the blessings will still be the same. All right then, so this has been this week's edition of the Amazons. I am Silo. I was with Aisha and Omasa. And Aziza, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And you as well. Thank you so much. You're doing a great job, as a life coach. Until we come your way, same station, same time next week, stay blessed.